Thank you so much for joining the Dr. Whisperer podcast show. I am your host, Sharon Feckety, and you are here to listen to others talk about the business of medicine. Don't forget to subscribe, share it with somebody else that is in the business of medicine so we can all learn together. Thank you for being here and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We have a wonderful returning guest, and his name is Dr. Jason Hunt, orthopedic surgeon to the stars. Once was in Tampa Bay, now back in his hometown of Kentucky. I'm really pissed at him because he left, but that's okay. We're still friends. I'm glad that, he's in his happy place where, I don't know, what do? You drink moonshine, and what do you guys do over there?
Yeah, I don't really drink any moonshine, but there's lots of people drinking bourbon.
Yeah, bourbon is big there.
It is.
Bourbon has actually gotten pretty big here.
Here's how you know I'm talking to somebody from New York, because they
Okay.
think my hometown is Kentucky, like Kentucky's a town.
Yeah. So, it's like how I feel when people say they're from New York and they live upstate. That's not really New York. That's like different. Do you hear what's going on in New York right now?
No, just fog from a bunch of Canadian wildfires.
Yeah, the wildfire is pretty bad. And my brother has asthma, so he is wearing his N95 mask again.
Yeah.
And there you go. Let's bring up trauma right away and talk about the pandemic.
No doubt. But somehow we can't get past that, huh?
Right. So tell us a little bit about what life has been like since you left Tampa Bay, which, again, not happy about, but understand why you did it. How are things in your hometown? Of course, I'm going to call it your hometown. It is your hometown. New York is my hometown. It's a very big place.
Yeah. Things are good. So we made the transition in August of last year. So it seems like a minute ago, but we almost been here a year already, and came down and kind of pushed pause on everything that was OrthoLinks, the performance center, the therapy, the orthopedic surgery side of things, and took a consulting job at the hospital and did just general orthopedics. And then we just transitioned into June into kicking OrthoLinks back into motion and signed a contract to cover their orthopedic service line at the hospital, similar to what you would think about if a group of physicians covers the emergency room. We just do that for their orthopedic service line. So we're planning on doing that as an alternative to locums and other difficulties that people have in the rural parts of the country, where it's hard to hire orthopedic surgeons unless they're from that hometown. So we're going to try to become the solution for the rural hospitals to, I tell them that we're bringing city orthopedics to the country.
I love it. Makes me, for some strange reason, want to say get her done. So, we have that kind of relationship, everybody. It's just a running joke. So because this show is about the business of medicine, and you are you are the only orthopedic surgeon I have ever known that has tried to recreate what the business of being an orthopedic surgeon really is. I think that's why I was excited to work with you and get to know you a few years ago. And because I know that you have a real passion for the very basic helping others. And you've done many things, and you're very charitable, and you're like a good dude. And this is not to blow smoke. But I really want to help the entrepreneurs, the physician entrepreneurs that consider breaking out on their own, more of the reality of what it's like, because you have certainly been on a ride for a few years now. So what would you start with in terms of what maybe did you think you knew, and then learned in your first years in business?
Yeah, I made a pretty reckless decision. We've talked about this before. I left residency and went directly into private practice with no hospital guarantees, no income guarantees. I didn't know anything about the business of medicine. So I was trained to be an orthopedic surgeon and got really good training to do that. But I was not ready for what was about to come down, and learn that how an insurance claim goes through a process, and how they deny claims for silly stuff, and how insurance companies are set up to ruin your life, and all those things that seem to happen in a private practice. And then what happens over time, and we're right in the middle of it right now, which is like, it's very hard to be a solopreneur or someone who wants to run a solo practice in medicine right now, because the cost is so high that it doesn't make good financial sense in some degree. But I do think, and it all started when price transparency became a buzzword. We go back to like 2016, 2017. Then when it started becoming reality in 2020, 2022, that there can be a pendulum swing back to private practice. And that's what we're getting involved with a little bit on a company called HealthCoin that I'm the vice president for. We're trying to save private practice. And by creating a cash-based market that patients can become consumers for, and without getting too deep into that, my advice is that you have to do your homework and find a mechanism in place, or know the rules that are involved, so you can find a niche in the system that will allow you to make money. Because with no money, there's no margin, there's no mission. And so that's one of the things that you run into. We became very, very successful by any terms in Tampa Bay by being a private practice and taking good care of people and doing the right thing over and over and being charitable. But from a business standpoint, if you looked at our balance sheet, we were not even close to as successful as other orthopedic surgery practices, because insurance companies would not give us a fair rate, because we were one surgeon outfit, and I had to do double the work to get the same amount of pay as bigger, larger groups that were 3 miles down the road. And I was willing to do that, but most people are not willing to do that. Most people would rather be paid, whatever the market rate is. And so we're trying to redefine that across the country. We're at 18% of GDP on healthcare costs right now in our country. If it gets to 20%, it can cause a depression, a healthcare depression. So we got to stave it off somewhere. And I think by putting power into the patient's hands, my advice for physicians who are saying, I'm tired of the hospital employed positions, I'm tired of the large groups, I'm tired of someone else telling me how to practice, is you have to find a niche. And sometimes, like for me, for example, I didn't have that niche in Tampa. I had the niche of, we do the right thing, we're ethical, we treat people well. Everybody from the front desk to the back table to the doctor is going to treat you the same way. That made us successful from a practice standpoint, but we didn't have that from a business standpoint. And now we do have some leverage that we're in Kentucky. So we found a niche to say, well, there's certain places of the country that need orthopedic care that don't get a high level orthopedic care. So we kind of fell into that niche that now we can provide that level of care to these smaller places, or the rural places in the country. And most people also aren't willing to do that. You want to be able to live in the city. You want to have access to what you have in the city. We've solved that issue too. We're going to have their physicians be able to live wherever they want. And then we show up with a Sprinter van with an office in the back of it. You do virtual consults in the back, and then we'll drive you to surgery and drive you back home. So we've thought about all the issues that would be a roadblock for someone to enter back into private practice. And we're trying to break those down. But as it currently stands right now, it's dangerous. It's tough treading. There's sharks out there right now. And so I do believe the tide is going to turn, and we're going to win, and private practice will be revitalized once the patients control the money.
So how does that happen? How does that work? Let's talk because there are patients. We're all patients. Even doctors are patients. So how do we do that? Because as much as you talk about the transparency, I still don't think that that's something that the everyday patient understands. Just this morning, I will tell you, and this is not solely about patient transparency, but my husband was telling me about a bill. He's taken care of his mother who has dementia and is in an assisted living space now. And he got a bill and he was all annoyed. He goes, I got this final payment bill, that's for $1,000. And I've never, ever gotten a bill from these people before. And I'm like, yeah, well, they're completely trying to take advantage of who they think is an 86-year-old woman, not a 54-year-old man that is, married to the doctor whisperer. So, we're not going to pay that. I mean, that's just like stupid and ridiculous. But there is so much, there's such a lack of knowledge out there about insurance. And I've always not compared you, but very similar feelings with Dr. Mudgill. I've mentioned him to you before because he's very strong opinions. He fought like United Healthcare, like calling him out, throwing it up on social media. You have been very vocal. Things won't ever really change until the patients change. So can you talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, we're doing what we're doing with HealthPoint is building an app, and we want it to be in everybody's hands so that you can find out at the very least, what it would cost you at another place. So if you think I'm going to get an MRI scan of my shoulder because my shoulder hurts, then most of the time what happens is your doc gives you an MRI scan, you show up wherever you show up, and you hope that something good happens when you get the MRI scan. Well, most of the time something bad happens, which means you get a big bill that you didn't expect. It goes towards your deductible. It goes towards your co-insurance until you hit your max out of pocket. And then just me even saying that out loud is already confusing.
Right.
Because patients,
it's
patients
like a
don't
different
understand.
language. Yeah, I already, any patient is listening right now, I know you are pretending that you understand what he's saying, right? Because it's like you need a whole education just on what he said. Continue.
Yeah, and so it's on purpose. Insurance companies have created this tendency for us to feel safe if we have an insurance card and continue to raise the premiums, raise the out-of-pocket max, raise the deductibles. So now about 82% of Americans who aren't covered by Medicare and Medicaid never reach their deductible. Right. So they're paying for cash their whole entire healthcare year. Yeah. But the bad news is they can't negotiate the rates. So if they have United Healthcare, for example, and you want to get an MRI scan at an unnamed hospital, I won't pick on anyone, but let's say that with United Healthcare, they have a $3,000 allowable charge for that MRI scan. But X place down the road that's self-funded and takes cash patients would charge $500 for that same MRI scan. Just by having United Healthcare and going to that facility, you bought a $3,000 MRI scan that you have to pay for, where you could have gone to the other facility and their contracted rate with United or their cash pay price is $500. You could have saved $2,500 just by knowing where to go. And so we're trying to create a shift and for people to say, not do you accept my insurance, and ask the question, how much does it cost?
Right.
And if they'll make a switch from like, do you take my insurance to how much does it cost? That's going to open eyes tremendously, because all of a sudden you may get two different answers on how it costs. But I know for sure that when people need a doctor, they're not going to go start like price shopping right now. That's not a possibility. But if we can make small dents in the thinking of like, how much is this going to cost me? Then we can provide the resources and where it says, at least you know how much it costs in Denver, you know how much it costs in Las Vegas, you know how much it costs in Tampa, Florida, you know how much it costs in Pikeville, Kentucky. And what you'll find out is it would blow your mind if you knew those differences. And I will pick on Pikeville, Kentucky. It's my hometown. A surgery that we were doing in Tampa.
Did you say potluck?
No, not potluck. Pikeville, Pike with no S, not Pikesville. Okay. So the hospital there is the only place to get an MRI scan because it's geographically bound. It's in the mountains. It's similar to when you go to the mountains in Gatlinburg.
And I do love it. And that's why I know that I was waiting. I was like, he's going to bring up Gatlinburg. I love it. I am so much closer to getting to the mountains than I've ever been in my life. So go ahead. Yeah.
So a surgery that we've done every day for $8,000 or $10,000 at a surgery center in Tampa, Florida, may cost $55,000 at that hospital. Right. And no one seems to know or care. Right. I met with the gubernatorial candidate for Kentucky. I met with state senators, legislators, and said, do you guys know what's happening in the state for healthcare costs? Do you know that if you go to a different facility, it may be a $30,000 difference? And they were like, nah, you got to be kidding me. That's not real. And I showed them, and it is real. And so just based on your zip code, you may be getting killed on healthcare costs. But here's the problem. Here's what we ran into. Once it gets to past their deductible and past their out-of-pocket max, patients don't care who pays them. because then it's like, who cares? I've already met my max out of pocket, so I might as well get an MRI scan of everything. I might as well do whatever because I'm not paying anymore. But the truth of the matter is you are paying.
Yes,
Your
you are.
employer may pay your premiums for you, but next year they may not be able to afford to pay your premiums anymore, and it may come out of your paycheck. And we talked about UPS before. UPS provides unbelievable benefits to their employees.
It is the best, and I don't use it. I pay cash.
Yeah, it's the best. But there will be a time where they have to make decisions about, can we continue to provide this same service because the insurance companies continue to raise the premiums, continue to raise the deductibles. Most small businesses can't even afford to offer healthcare insurance to their employees because it would bankrupt them as a business.
Well, let's, the majority of UPS is not like any other. There's nobody out there that is paying full coverage for an entire family anymore at all. UPS might be the only one. Now, dare I say I'm wrong, but I just don't know of any others. And I talk to enough people, I feel like. And it is really unbelievable that the practice that I ran, we paid full coverage, not for the family, but just for the employee. And that's unheard of, right? Like, we're paying so much more today. And when I say we, I mean you, because not me, I don't have to. But I'll tell you, if I did have to today, running a practice as long as I have, the first thing I would say, well, how much is it for that consult? Like, I would just ask, because I would rather pay the cash for the visit than have to pay what I think I'm getting a deal on because I have this insurance card. But then you hear the same thing, when I work so hard and that's why I have insurance. It's actually, we have to completely change the dynamic of how people think about health insurance. And it is going to take physicians, surgeons like you, to really talk about it, because I think a lot of people, Dr. Hunt, think that you guys, you people over there with the surgery, with the, you got 5 Bentleys, 4 different houses in Aspen, and you're like living this lavish lifestyle, and thinking that these insurance companies are just reimbursing you so much. It couldn't be further from the truth, but you'd really have to be inside of the industry to know that. So, and ultimately, my goal, not knowing this, doing the doctor whisperer thing for as long as I have, I thought I was there to actually help the patients grow their practices. But in reality, what I'm doing is I'm trying to have a better experience for the patient. Because if the space is healthy and we have more practices that are accepting cash and can be privately held, the patients get better care. You were successful because you were actually a nice human being. Yes, you're a great surgeon, all that shit. And I sent my mom to you, and other people, but you're very candid and transparent, and that is what we need. If you have prices if there are prices up on the wall of a doctor's office, that is the place you should go.
Absolutely. And you can't hide anything. And what we're going to do, hopefully, is pressure people into posting their prices, because if you don't post your prices, we're going to say, well, they must be worse than what we have. So if they won't post them, then we can just assume that they're worse, because if they're competitive, of course you'd post them.
Of course.
If they're not competitive, then you probably should avoid them. And then that's the whole craze we were talking about a little bit before we went live, is direct primary care is the future of primary care medicine, which is a cash-based subscription model where you're going to get access to your primary care doc in a way that you currently don't have, because of the way the economics are set up. They need to see a patient every 15 minutes and get in and out in order to survive. To have a practice. And as it currently stands, that's not sustainable. You cannot have a primary care doc who only gives you 15 minutes, because 8 of those minutes is spent pecking on a computer to make sure that you get everything in the EHR properly, so your claim doesn't get denied. So now you have eight minutes with your primary care doctor once a month, it just doesn't work.
No,
doctors are tired. Doctors are tired of it.
Yes.
Patients are tired of it. Everyone is tired of it. Primary care we can record this episode one day and play it back. Direct primary care will be the only way that primary care is distributed in the future. And I think it's a 7 to 10 year period that happens. But if you're in primary care and you're a large company, you're privately held, and you don't know what DPC is,
You're
then
an
you
idiot.
need to figure out. You need to figure it out, because that patients will refuse to go somewhere else eventually
Yes.
because of the level of care that you get. And then people think, oh, it's concierge medicine, but that's different.
No.
Concierge medicine
No.
is paying a fee to have access, super
That's right.
access to your
24
physician.
hours
This
a
is
day.
not concierge.
No, it's
This
not.
it's a subscription model where you pay a set fee, and it's affordable. It's
Yes.
unbelievably affordable
Yes.
to do.
And so for all of you that are not in Kentucky, maybe you're here in Tampa Bay, there are direct primary care practices right here in the area. St. Pete, Tampa, Pinellas County. There are not many, but like you said, it will be the norm. When I hear it, of course, it's like the future. Well, this has been around for years now. It takes that fucking long in healthcare for there to be ever any progress. There's so many, there's so many hurdles for everybody to overcome. Anyway, every doctor listening or watching knows that your traditional insurance only goes so far. Your malpractice only goes so far. So there's real risks that can actually keep you up at night. You know that. I know that. I've watched you stressed out the next day from all of these insurance issues. Well, SRA 831B admin helps you mitigate these risks and lower your tax liability by putting money into a vehicle that is tax advantage to self-insure risks that fall out of your traditional property and casualty insurance. I would not have them as a sponsor if I did not believe 100% that they can actually help you. So to find out more information, please check out the website that is in the show notes. Contact them today. I promise you won't regret it. This podcast is sponsored by Doc2Doc, the personal lending platform designed for doctors by doctors. Doc2Doc believes that traditional lenders overestimate the risk of lending money to doctors, focusing too much on challenges of their financial past and giving them insufficient credit for the promise of their financial future. Yeah, we love what Doc2Doc is doing within our community. That is for sure. And we encourage you to visit their website at Doc2DocLending.com. Learn more about them today. I didn't think
everyone's afraid to leave the insurance model. As a physician too, it's scary because you're like, well, how am I going to get paid?
How am I going to feed my fam?
The truth is the patients will pay you, and they will pay for direct primary care because the service level is unbelievably higher. The access is higher. It's going to be the norm, and we're going to see a shift away from fee for service, away from 99214 fee schedule garbage into I pay a subscription. I have 100% access to my primary care. And then all of a sudden it doesn't have to be a 8-minute, I'm going to send you to 16 specialists to take care of all your problems. Now you can actually have enough time to sit down and talk through the deal and figure out what's going on. It's going to save money everywhere. The insurance companies have already called on. Insurance companies are trying now to build their own direct primary care clinics because they know it's cost effective. Health shares like MediShare and OneShare and Sedera are paying their people to join a direct primary care clinic. So it's the 100% the future. And that's going to, I think, be the first door that needs to be kicked down for patients to understand that it's cash price is often better than having an insurance card and paying whatever insurance has decided to contract with that facility for.
Why do you always get me so mad?
I'm good at that.
It is upsetting because I think it's really comes down to the patient really understanding this. And I'm going to hold the fire to the physicians to be as loud as you are and to be as loud as some other physicians have been about it, because it's really, I can sometimes I think it's as hard for people to understand than it is for them to understand about mental health. Like, it's like this generation. I feel like there's generational trauma in healthcare. The insurance companies have tricked you so hard for so long, and the pharmaceutical companies have tricked us and for so long that we all need to be smarter. And we hope that, coming through this panorama, that we would be a little bit smarter at this stage. And, every single person that is listening to this, the next time you have a doctor's appointment, I dare you, I challenge you to just ask them how much that consult, that follow-up is. Ask them for everything. You are entitled to not only your medical records, but you are entitled to a price listing. You're entitled to get a discount if you ask, like you should ask for it. You know how to haggle when you go to Belize when you're on that 7-day cruise, right? When this guy's not even making $5 to feed his damn family, you know how to ask him if you can have that for $15 instead of $20. Well, do it at your doctor's office. I wasn't supposed to get upset today, Dr. Hahn.
I mean, you're yelling. I love it.
I am so angry about it, though, because my husband told me also this morning, he said, well, they billed out for my mother-in-law's hospital stay $35,000 and they got $4,200. Do you see what is wrong here? You don't even have to be that good at math, people. You just have to have like a tiny, tiny brain to go, there might be something wrong here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
It's
your turn.
It's fine. Yeah, I'll yell too, and I'm okay with calling out United Healthcare and all the other people too. I think ultimately there's a handful of us, but not enough physicians who are saying anything. There may be someone who's bold enough to say everything is garbage and it needs to be burnt to the ground and built over. There's like 10 of us that I know of. Now, secretly, there's hundreds of us and thousands of us who believe that that's true.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a formal walkout. It doesn't have to be anything stupid. No, we don't have to go on strike. What we have to do is understand that our current system is not sustainable. It underpays the physicians.
Yes.
It lines the pockets of healthcare executives.
Yes,
United Healthcare made $4 billion of profit.
Did you hear that, everybody? $4 billion.
$4 billion.
The B.
So if they would move that to 400 million, they could insure every American like car insurance with a $500 max out of pocket and $100 deductible, but they choose not to. And the reason they choose not to is because they can make another $4 billion. The scariest part, and this should scare every human who's listening.
Say it slow.
United Healthcare is becoming the largest employer of physicians in our country. They're catching Kaiser. And if you go to a physician who works for an insurance company, you are crazy.
You're crazy. He said it right here. Oh, what do we do? So what do we do? Tell us what to do. You need, we need more doctors getting on shows. We need more social media. I don't care what everybody says. I hate social media. I hate all this. Well, that's how you reach the masses, and you have to get loud, and maybe sometimes you have to curse, because then maybe it gets somebody's attention because they're so offended that a professional like you would actually curse. How dare thee, thou? But I really think that the only way to get people to change is to shake it up. We got to shake it up a little bit.
That, but also, and I think there's an easier way too, which is it's sometimes you say like you have to taste the Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. And once people understand, and they can understand that there's an alternative, that will virally spread. People then will not accept anything different than what's the cost, but you have to break down those barriers. And that's what we're doing with HealthCoin. We're going to be calling people who want to stay in private practice, and we're going to be asking them to post their prices on an app so that people can shop for their services. And everyone else who chooses not to be on the app, our goal is for them to go out of business. And so if you don't want to be price transparent, if you don't want to give a fair price, it's actually the law now. It's not even like, oh, I wish it wasn't that case. There are federal laws that require price transparency. Now, no one's abiding by them. Like, hospitals are taking penalties now because they won't post their stuff. But forget the hospital stuff. Let's just talk about the physicians groups who are large groups. Post your prices. Like, it's the right thing to do. No one's came after the private practice physicians yet. Like, the hospitals are the ones that are under the target currently. Well, next is us. Like, we got to step up and say, like, it's the right thing to do, because what are we afraid of? There's nothing to hide. I mean, if people knew exactly how much I got paid for their surgery, they would be appalled. They would think like, oh, do you have a charity box where I could drop a quarter in it for you? Like, people don't understand that, our take home stuff for surgery is not what it used to be in the 1980s before HMOs became in. Those prices have continually gone down. So we're gonna do big stuff with HealthCoin and with what OrthoLinks are doing. We're gonna build surgery centers in places where hospitals are the only place that exist. We're going to be completely non-profit, which means no investors in the surgery centers or real estate Mongols are going to get any money. And we're going to do surgery for the real price that it costs. We're going to pay physicians that are surgeons fairly. We'll pay the anesthesia providers fairly. And the rest of the service will be done at cost. And those numbers are going to blow people out of the water when they see them. Like, oh, you can get a total hip replacement for $15,000. I thought it was $68,000 at the hospital. Well, it is. So don't go to the hospital. Go to the surgery center that posts their price. And there's people, there are really good people behind the scenes that are busting their tails right now to make this a reality behind the scenes. But we got to come to the forefront. And that's what we hope when HealthCoin goes live and we're ready to start showing people this app. We want people to say, well, why is your cost this? Because in the app, if I go to Miami, Florida, I can get this for $5,000 cheaper. That means I can fly there, have a vacation, take my whole family, get an MRI scan, fly back, and save $2,000.
Yeah,
and
that sounds nice.
We'll start the medical tourism talk later. There's going to be some of that. People are going to travel to, and employers who are self-funded, UPS will be one of those, will start choosing places that are cost effective. And right now, it's in the news, there's some problems with surgery in Mexico with infections and some kind of viral meningitis. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like Walmart, for example, sends their employees to Mexico with an American surgeon to have surgery because they save $10,000 per surgery. And they'll give $5,000 cash to the employee and say, here, just spend this while you're in Mexico, have fun because we save $5,000. That doesn't have to be the case. Like, this is the freaking United States. We should be able to figure that out.
We should
not send people to Mexico for surgery. Like we can send them to Tampa for surgery. We can send them to Pikeville, Kentucky for surgery, wherever it is. So yeah, I can get loud and mad about it too, but I decided to quit getting loud and mad and do something about it. So that's what we're doing with the HealthCoin stuff. And when it comes live.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough doctors, you would agree with this, that are actually bitching about what's going on, but they're not doing anything about it. That's just don't even bother. It's like nobody wants to be around the person that complains and doesn't take any kind of action.
Well, I think they don't know what to do. I mean, honestly, I took a different road than most people take from getting into private practice and understanding business. And there's a lot of doctors who say this and don't want to say it, but it's like, oh, I just want to do doctor stuff. I don't really care about the business stuff. And that's just irresponsible. That's like someone who cuts hair saying, I don't really want to know how much I charge for haircuts. I just want to make good haircuts. Like, no, we have to. We're going to be forced to at least think about it. We got to start at the med school level. I know we talked about this before. We got to start at the pre-med level and understand the basics of what happens because otherwise what will happen, and I'll call any of them out. Like, I am sick and tired of vultures and third-party people who are just dabbling in medicine and getting paid. Like, oh, we're going to find a gap here and I'm going to build a company so I can take our current situation and take some of the money out of the healthcare system and make a bunch of money, buy a bunch of companies, put them together, sell them, or have an IPO and go public, make a bunch of money, and then go on and move on. They don't care about healthcare stuff. They care about making money, and good for them, but do it somewhere else. Like, get out of health.
So what good news do you have?
The great news is that HealthCoin is going to be live in October.
All right. Oh, my birthday month. That's a good month to do it. I like it. HealthCoin. It's not easy to build an app. So tell us about your process to get the right app developer. And did you think it was going to be this expensive?
Yeah. It's been it's still ongoing. We have the app development never changes.
Yeah.
And so looking at what to do, it's changed. We've pivoted a few times because a lot of the things that we wanted to do when Eric Osborne is the CEO of HealthCoin and we cross paths in a way that's insane. It was divinely crossed at the time that I was doing things, that he was doing things. And at the time, when he said to me out loud what he was doing, and I told him out loud what I was doing, we were like, oh my goodness, we're doing the same thing. We just didn't know each other. And so we pushed pause and said, hey, let's do this together and not be competitors because we don't have enough people who are willing to do it. And so the app development was interesting because initially what we wanted to do was very simple. We wanted people to pay money to us like an insurance company, but not be an insurance company, be an assurance company, which means we're going to pay your bills, like almost like a reverse thinking of an HSA account where we're going to pay the upfront cost before it meets your catastrophic number. We're going to do that by lowering the cost and creating competition and building the back-end solutions that lower the cost, the surgery centers, direct primary care clinics, all the stuff that we need to do that. But in the meantime, we'll pay for the healthcare part of it. And the contributions from your employer will go into your account and you own it. So, for example, if you work for OrthoLinks Orthopedics in 2020 in Tampa, Florida, you had United Healthcare insurance. I pay the premiums for it. The employees paid a percentage of their premiums for it. The minute that they didn't work for OrthoLinks, they have no insurance.
Right.
It's over. Like United Healthcare is gone. They took all the premiums. They took all the money. If you didn't use it, you lost it.
Right.
And so HealthCoin's different. It goes to your account. If you don't lose it, you keep it. And it continues to build over time. And you can spend it on healthcare systems inside the app in a way that is driven directly from the employer. So they pay the premiums, but the employee gets the benefit, which is this balance in our HealthCoins. And initially, when we started out, what we wanted to do was say, you can spend a whole amount in your account for your healthcare, and anything that was short, we'll finance at 0% interest for as long as it takes you to spend it over so that you don't have to make a decision. Can I afford the healthcare stuff? Do I do this surgery? Do I not do the surgery? But we found out that there's so many regulations and money handling throughout the country. Like I had to take a course on this thing. Like, what do you mean that we can't do this? Like, we're trying to save healthcare, but there's rules and laws that prevent us from handling money. So we can't take money in unless we have a money handler license. So we did this work around it. So that completely changed the app development. And we had to do some workarounds from that standpoint. And we're continuing to we're in a good spot now. We have a really good plan. We have a way to handle the money and how it goes in and goes out. Ultimately, what we're also doing is identifying people who have completely fallen off the map and they don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, and maybe they're freshly homeless or they're in a bad way. And we're blessing those people with a health coin. It's a physical coin, like we're the John Wick of healthcare here. And so we get the coin and we're identifying those people and putting them into a direct primary care clinic because it's the most cost-effective way to handle the healthcare stuff. So we got tons of exciting stuff coming up. We're really excited about it. We think that once people taste it, they will not tolerate anything less than that.
That's awesome. I love it. And of course, I love that it looks like a sobriety coin. It's a gift. That's what it is. Yeah. Looks like the ones I'm looking at.
It is. It's a token. Yeah. It is a.
No, you're breaking up.
Yeah. You know me, though. I had to go bigger and stronger. This is a 3-inch coin.
Of course it is.
We had to go with a 3-inch coin because we had to up it a little bit,
Of course you did. Of course. Well, I'm excited about it, and I can't wait for you to come back when the launch is ready for HealthCoin. And I think there are so many deserving people that have fallen on hard times, especially these last few years, that will really appreciate that. Not surprised that you're connecting everything with giving back, because that's what makes you tick tock. And I love that. So listen, thanks for upsetting me and then giving me hope.
Yeah, no problem.
It's a nice little cycle of emotions that I'm used to when we have conversations, but I think it's important that we get loud and we don't accept crumbs anymore, and we expect better from our for our healthcare. I mean, my God, it's so important. So we have to, we have to speak up like Dr. Hunt is. So I appreciate you being here. And next time I'm in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, I'll make a right and go to Kentucky and say hello.
Take a right and go north. You got it.
There you go. All right. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Don't forget to mitigate risk. Visit 831b.com for more information. Remember to check out Doc2Doc, the personal lending platform designed for doctors by doctors.